Good evening and welcome to this week's Hamilton Report. I'm happy that you are with us this evening to spend half an hour. I think you're going to be really pleased with our guest this evening. I'm very happy to welcome him, and I'll do so in just a moment. I hope that you've had a chance to take a breath in the last few days, the last week. I know it's been exhausting for everyone, and I'll say this again at the end of the broadcast, but I really stress that we all have to take care of ourselves and each other because, and besides physically tiring, it's emotionally exhausting too. So I just wanted you to know that I'm feeling that along with you, but I do hope that you're taking good care of yourself. If you missed last week's episode, it was a wonderful conversation with our chair, Alicia Andrews, looking ahead at what we will accomplish together as a party. And if you missed that, I encourage you to go back. You can see that episode or any previous episode of the Hamilton Report on our YouTube channel, which is, if you're watching there now, you already know the answer to this. It's okdemocrats.org/YouTube. They're all archived there, as well as Alicia's updates, daily updates, and now bi-weekly updates. So that being said, it is my privilege to welcome to our program this evening just one of the very newest representatives in the state of Oklahoma, Jose Cruz. Welcome to the Hamilton Report.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Representative Cruz, is your family calling you that yet?
Just a little bit.
There you go.
They're not going to let me. They're not going to let me get it to my head. So, you know.
Well, that's a good thing, I guess. I'm happy that you're here. I wanted to show folks what district you're in, because I know that districts change with some frequency, and you are in House District 89, which roughly runs from the river south to
Southwest 44th.
And west to Portland and east to Western, except it kind of jogs off in Capitol Hill there to Walker. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
And so I've got the Wheeler District and the Stockyards, and then everybody just south of that down to Southwest Integris.
And you really, it's nice that you've got some pretty historic districts in your area, because you also have the farmers market, correct?
No, I do not. I do not have the farmers market.
Okay. I thought that I see it just a little bit.
North.
Okay.
But I do have Mount St. Mary's, and that historic Capitol Hill. It's a very nice neighborhood, and so it's good to have that in there.
Well, and also you represent Capitol Hill High School, which is my alma mater. And Grant and Grant is just beyond you. Okay.
Yeah. Capitol Hill, I've got the north side of Grand. I don't have Capitol Hill High School. So the only high school I have is Mount St. Mary's.
So that means the Capitol Hill is just going to have to holler across the street at you. Is that the idea?
They'll have to walk across the street for me to be able to talk to them.
Okay. One of the things that you posted earlier on your Facebook page, I believe, you said that the first order of business is we must have a mandate. And I noticed that the governor today in his press conference is still talking about personal accountability.
Yeah.
And we know that that's not working real well. And so
right.
Are you encouraging your constituents to reach out to the governor's office?
Yes. If you're able to, please give them a call. Let your representative know that you are in support of a mask mandate. It's really the only way, and for some people, the economic impact is the only thing that they care about. And so if we want to keep businesses open, if we want to make sure the economy is still working, if we want to stay employed, if we want to be able to have all the nice things, we need to wear a mask when we're out in public, or, within our friends and everything like that. I think that's the other thing is, as it gets colder, we'll meet up with our friends, we let our guard down, and we think, well, it's only, there's only 4 of us, right? But it's very important to make sure that we keep our masks on and really, really take this seriously.
Well, I couldn't agree with you It seems like we're just slow on the uptake on this here in Oklahoma, and sadly, it's costing lots of lives. You mentioned the economy, and the area that you represent in Oklahoma City is full of small businesses. Just every kind of small business, isn't it?
That's right. Yes. Well, 29th Street is famous for being the one street where you can send money to Mexico and buy a car all within a mile.
Well, that's my old stomping ground, and it's wonderful to see so many small businesses that are thriving. But as you point out, if people are continuing to get sick, then there will be no one to support those businesses. So it is important, and we can't stress it enough. And I'm delighted to hear that that's so high on your agenda.
Yeah.
You have been participating in a caucus retreat the last couple of days. You want to tell us just a little bit about how that's been going and what you've been doing there with your colleagues?
Sure. Well, today was actually the first day, and there's only 19 of us. So the one benefit is that we get to know each other a little bit better pretty quickly. Most of us are also urban Democrats, legislators, and so I've had the chance to meet most everyone, but there's still some from Tulsa area that I don't know very well, and so it's been nice to get to know them a little more, and really, these retreats are for digging deep and really bringing out some of the really creating space to have these conversations where we're able to share how we're feeling and what we want to do. And so I know tomorrow is actually our day when we'll be setting our agenda for the year and seeing where we go from there. Today was more just getting to know each other. So I'm thankful for that. But again, I've been around this long enough to have gotten to know a couple of them. So that's also helpful too.
Jose, how old are you?
I just turned 30 this August, a few months ago.
Well, I want to take you back to the point at which you said, I am going to run for office. I need to represent my district. What was it that spurred you in that direction?
I think I was probably around 26 years old. So only a few years ago, I was working for Senator Michael Brooks Jimenez in his law firm, and I started working on immigration cases. I could speak Spanish, and so I could communicate with our clients, and so it was one of those things that felt very good, very gratifying to be able to help someone and tell them this is how we can help you. And obviously not all of immigration cases result in positive and favorable outcomes, but the ones that do, you feel very, very good about. And that's really what led me to kind of start digging and exploring. And Senator Brooks first ran for office then in 2014, and he lost to Ralph Shorty. And as we all know, that didn't end out so well for him. But it was one of those things that for me, it was like, he's not qualified. I could be, I may not be qualified right now, but I could be qualified. And I think we can give some of these people a run for their money. And so over the last few years, I went and got my law degree. I continued working at the law firm and just really educating myself, staying involved in the community, getting to know people. But I don't think I realized exactly that I was going to do it so soon. So I was just I was just unknowingly getting my resume ready to run for office. And so, the opportunity arose last year and I was ready. And, we got to work.
Clearly you were ready because you were able to galvanize volunteers and get people motivated to not just vote for you, but to support your campaign efforts. And one of the things that is indelibly written in my head now, because Alicia says it so often, is representation matters. And you are representative of a number of groups. You're Latin X man. You are a Southsider. You are a young Dem. You're an attorney.
I was born in
Um,
Mexico and I naturalized. So, it's yes, I don't mean to interrupt, but
no,
I've
not at all.
been through a lot of the things that people in my community have been through or have struggled with, and so when I knock doors and people tell me, well, I can't vote, and so I'll ask, is it because is it are you waiting to naturalize, and then so I can empathize and I can ask, at what stage are you in, and then how can I help? If you need someone to help you with your naturalization paperwork, I can do that because I've been there and I understand. And I tell them all you need to do is get 6 questions right out of 10 on your naturalization exam. That also helps people feel better too.
But that's a true American story coming from another country, um, earning a law degree, and now serving at the Capitol. That's a lot to accomplish, and to be only 30 years old. So I'm
Thank
excited
you.
for you. I want to ask you what are some of the most pressing things in your district? What are people telling you that they need, or that they want, or that they don't want any more of? What are you hearing from your constituents already?
So unfortunately, in House District 89, my constituents feel like all of the above is the top priority. So healthcare, education, jobs, potholes, public safety, infrastructure, everything. And early on, I had a constituent who kind of threw the question back at me, and he said, if you know where you're running, why would you ask me which issue is a top priority for me? You should know that all of the above are, and he's right. He's right.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, unfortunately, in South Oklahoma City, we've been left behind. I don't think there's any. Um, I don't think there's any arguing there. We can't. It's a fact. And so really now it's, how do we move forward? How do we get representation, and how do we get our government at all levels to listen to us, from state down to municipal. And one of the things that I've realized is that we don't have the infrastructure in terms of neighborhood associations, right? So at the cellular level of government, we don't have neighbors and people who will come together and take care of their neighborhoods. And there's many reasons why that doesn't happen. It's not because people don't care. It's because people don't have the time. People don't have the education. There's a language barrier sometimes. There are lots of barriers that affect our community, and so we don't have neighborhood associations. And I really think that if we had those, more people would be involved, um, and that would lead to more involvement up all the way to to state issues. But really, I knock a door and I get everything from the pothole and drainage issues up to um, you know COVID and elective surgeries and things that are more state level specific, and of
Mhm.
course education, right? I mean, um, again, our everything from our metro tech, our technical schools, we don't really have a strong presence in South Oklahoma City. I know we have around the areas, but not in the core. And high school, we're overcrowded. We need a new high school. Our children don't have the resources, the teachers, and so there's plenty of work to do.
I'm so encouraged listening to you, Jose, because you are listening to your people, the people that you represent, and I think that's really a great sign of things to come. I want to go back to something you mentioned a moment ago, and that is neighborhood associations. If we look around the city, those communities that are thriving, that I mean are really they're bolstered up. They get good services. They look good. Those are the cities with strong neighborhood associations, and they involve not just residents, but also business owners as well. And that's where things do change. And I'm glad that that's a focus for you, because one of the things, and it's a bad misnomer, in Oklahoma especially, people hear neighborhood association and they think, oh, you have to own property. Well, that's not the case. If you live or work in the area, then automatically you are a member of that organization. So I'm glad that that's a focus, because I think sometimes we overlook the things that are closest to us, and
and could have a great impact.
oh yeah, yeah, and in terms of education, it had, until you said it, it really hadn't occurred to me that in Oklahoma City, and while we do have a strong Metrotech system, and Moore Norman, Votech, great programs, but there is nothing in the core, and I hadn't even considered that. But if you live in South Oklahoma City and you're traveling to 122nd and Rockwell, that's a long commute every day to go to school. So I'm glad that you pointed that out.
Right, or 89th and Eastern, where Metrotech has their program out there, and so I don't know how feasible this will be, but I would like to see development south of the stockyards. There's an industrial area right there, nestled between the neighborhoods, but south of the stockyards, and then at Penn and 15th, and south of that, there's Trinity Rail, which is empty now, and that's acres of industrial. I think they manufactured train parts, if I'm not mistaken. And I think that's just an amazing opportunity to teach manufacturing, and training technical type things. I think it'd be great if we had a company. It doesn't have to be from a school. If a company came in and set up a training facility. We have a short of manufacturing jobs in the country, and if we can make South Oklahoma City a hub for manufacturing, there's a shortage of nursing, and there's also a shortage of technical workers, engineers at Tinker, and we're not that far away. And so I really think we have a missed opportunity there in South Oklahoma City.
Well, that is so, and it's that kind of thinking that we need at the Capitol. It's that kind of innovative approach. I know Columbus School, it just sits empty, and what a great building that was, and it's in disrepair now and falling into ruin.
Well, and there's acreage just south of that, and so it's just,
Absolutely.
and the thing is, not only are they hurting us but not doing anything, they're making it worse, because now it's a hotbed of drugs and crime, and that's what the neighbors around that school complain. That's just, they don't feel safe, and there's people just walking up and down those streets. And so, and obviously, right, that's two things that we need to address, right? We need to address the mental health and the resources for people in that community, but we also need to do something with Columbus and develop south of Columbus. And there's plenty of things that we could add in that neighborhood.
It's I've thought for a long time that property, what an amazing mixed use facility that would have been. An artist loft, mixed residency kind of program. There's so much. Instead, it's just falling apart. So you're already thinking about what can be done. And at the beginning of the broadcast, you said that there are only 19 of you. I would say that there are already 19 of you. That's just a different way of looking at it. But with the kind of thinking that you have already, and the session hasn't even begun, I think that the people in your HD are going to really benefit by having your thinking. Let me ask you this: you're just now getting that you were just sworn into office last week, but you know that this is going to take more time than what you originally thought it was, right? I mean, already that this is going to be, this is your other full-time job. And are you ready for that? Obviously you are, or you would not have made the run. But
Yeah.
I mean, with this kind of attitude, I know that you're going to have people calling you left and right, and that's a good thing. Do you have an office in South Oklahoma City right now?
I do. I office out of Foshi and Yaffe Law Firm. They're further south, but that's where I found a place to practice law in the
Uh-huh.
meantime. And so, yeah, I'm already. I'm this evening I was returning phone calls to clients telling them, hey, give me another day. So the stereotypes of lawyers waiting, taking a while to get back to you, it's only going to be more true now.
Well, I will very selfishly, I will say this: if your law clients have to wait an extra day for you to take care of them, while in the meantime you're taking care of a constituent, that's part of the trade-off.
It'll be a healthy balance, I think. And I'm because there's another representative there at the firm, they understand, and so that it's given me the flexibility to be able to take time off and work here. But obviously, that's your employer and clients are two different bosses, uh, and you need to make everyone happy. So we're working on that still.
Let me ask you. We've talked about some infrastructure issues. How are things in terms of unemployment in your district?
I mean, I think the numbers look good still. Unfortunately, though, because it is mostly service based industry, then a lot of our constituents fall under the categories of essential workers and are more. I just blinked on the word, but higher risk of catching COVID, and so it really puts them and their families on the line. And when they lose out on work, they don't have the same safety nets as other people do. They're not the people who can stay at home and work from home, and so it's a challenge. The power outage from the ice storm was a solid 2 weeks for most of us, and so that it's just all those things that really kind of pile up. But at the same time, we're resourceful and we work hard, and so within a couple of days some of the streets had been cleared. But that's one of the reasons why I want to make sure that we have better opportunities for jobs and good paying jobs and more education, because hopefully that will help us move forward, and when hard times hit, then our constituents are better prepared for them.
And I want to look at education for a moment. Not necessarily long term, but right now with COVID, with people in class, out of class, not sure about what the next steps are.
Yeah.
What does that mean in terms of food insecurity for your House district?
Yeah, I mean it's a real issue, and I know a lot of people are taking advantage of the meals at the public schools. I don't have any numbers on what that looks like. I do know that people like my neighbor, Miss Baker, she relies on food from the food bank, so she gets a box um, of goods from the food bank, and so she shares that with her neighbors, and so it's a real food insecurity is a real issue. There's a lot of elderly people in my district. I have this one lady who I think she moved here from Hawaii, because every time she leaves me a voicemail, she says aloha. But I know that she's expressed her concerns with the rest of the elderly population in her neighborhood. She lives at a nursing, not a nursing home, but one of those facilities, and so again, and that's one of the reasons why I'm running for office, and why we have to continue fighting is because with this year's budget cuts, a lot of our core services are going to get hit the hardest, and these are people who just don't have another IRA to go pull money from, right? Like it is some people, that's their worst case scenario, is I'm gonna go have to withdraw from my IRA and get a tax hit there, right? For others, it's, do I get to pay the bills, or buy my medication, or put food on the table? And so those are the real issues that affect House District 89, and unfortunately, it'll be worse here in the next year probably, but hopefully, again, and right, and that's why we want to bring in better paying jobs and have our people educated and properly trained, because I get it, right? If we have good jobs, that's a good tax revenue, which will help fund our core services that we desperately need.
Jose, I can't tell you how happy I am that you joined us tonight, because I'm proud of you for winning this election. And you have to change your thinking a little bit, because you said a moment ago, well, this is why I'm running for office.
It's not.
You have won. But I am proud of you, the work that you've done, and I look forward to working with you as the session gets underway. But until then, take a little rest for yourself, and be ready for a great legislative year. And promise me that you'll come back and see us again, will you?
I'll be right here.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Thank you. You too.
I want to just touch on something that Representative Cruz mentioned, and that is food insecurity. Thanksgiving is next week, and most of us will not be having our traditional family Thanksgiving dinners. They'll be taking on a very different form this year. But I do need to remind all of us that there are people who don't have access to enough food every day. It's a shame that particularly children and older people in our state go to bed at night not knowing if they will have food for another day. So I'm going to ask you to consider making a contribution to a food bank in your area. I know that they always accept gifts of food, and right now I read just this morning that they are particularly interested in cash donations, because it helps them to serve more people during the holiday time. So I just mentioned that because as Democrats, we do tend to reach out and help folks. And this is a good time of year for that, especially since some of us will be downsizing our own dinners and our own plans for this year. Want to thank you for being with us tonight. And I also want to invite you to help me with this broadcast, to make it ever better, to make it more exactly what you need it to be. I hope that you will give that some thought, for ideas for the program, for guests that you would like to see. And I encourage you to email me. It's simply scott@okdemocrats.org. And in the memo line, just put THR, the Hamilton Report. And I take very, very close looks at the suggestions that people make, and we try to incorporate those into our future shows. Finally, tonight, I want to thank you for supporting the party in all of the ways that you have this year. It's been a mighty full year for all of us. And I hope that you will continue to support us financially, emotionally, by volunteering, and also, and this is an important one, spark interest among your friends in running for office. Because as Representative Cruz said, he looked around and saw a need and decided that he needed to fill that need. So maybe that's the same thing for you. Look around, and if you feel called to run for office, whatever it may be, the Oklahoma Democratic Party is here to work with you, to serve you, and to help get you elected. I look forward to spending another half hour with you next Monday evening at 7 o'clock. And until then, please take very good care of yourself and each other. Get some rest, wear your masks, socially distance, and wash your hands. Have a good evening, everyone.